Hey everybody, Pritch here, and I'm going to teach you how to play the new Virtues Condi Firebrand. The roadmap for this video is going to be us starting out with the specs, and then going into the armor and the weapons. Next, we're going to look at your skills and abilities and what they do. If you already know what your skills and abilities are and what the skills and abilities do, you can skip through that part and just go straight to the next, which is going to be the rotation itself. I'm going to be timestamping this in the description, so just feel free to use that whenever you'd like to skip to the parts that you want to know. So, let's go ahead and start it off with the specs. Alright, first up is Radiance. First we have Justice's Blind, don't worry too much about that, just blindness and reduction to incoming condition damage. Next we have Right Hand Strength, gain 80 precision and 80 power, and whenever you're wielding a one-handed weapon, which is going to be the entire time because we're using Axe and Scepter. Next, we have Renewed Justice. Your Virtue Skill 1 resets every time you kill something. Note, this is only if your Virtue Skill 1 is on cooldown. If you kill something while in Tome 1, your Tome 1 will not reset. You have to be out of Tome 1, then something dies. Okay, next is Radiant Fire. Zealot's Flame gets an additional charge and proc every time you crit. Basically, this is the gigantic big brain spec right here. This is going to supercharge your Condi Firebrands from being amazing to being god tier, alright? On top of it, it also enhances your torch abilities and increases the burning durations. So I'm going to go into this Radiant Fire specifically when I talk about Torch 4, because this is going to interact with your Torch 4 ability. Just keep this on the back burner in your mind and just know that this is a very, very, very special and important spec. Alright? Next, we have Radiant Power, gain increased crit chance and some ferocity as well, a good chunk of ferocity. Amplified Wrath, basically burning does more damage, yay burning. Alright, now, on to the Virtues part, the reason that the build is changing, now we're running Virtues. So, in Virtues, we're going to be getting Inspired Virtue, you get some boons, you get Might every time you go into Tome 1, and then we're going to have Master of Consecrations. So, you'll notice that with the old Zeal Condi Firebrand, you would run Sword of Justice, and instead, now we're running Purging Flames. Purging Flames is a consecration, and so we're going to run Master of Consecrations to basically buff up this Purging Flames right here. Special note for those that are wondering, the reason we don't use Unscathed Contender, even though it's a 20% DPS boost, which is huge, it's only a DPS boost to physical damage, not Condi damage. And this build is almost entirely Condi. It's almost entirely burning and bleed stacks. So while that's a huge DPS boost, it doesn't affect the DPS that we're outputting. So instead we run Master of Consecrations. Next we have Virtue of Resolution. Doesn't matter. Don't care about this too much. Next we have Glacial Heart. So this is an interesting line of 3 to choose from, because instead of Glacial Heart, you might want to run Inspiring Virtue. 10% DPS boost every time you activate a Virtue, which you're going to go into Tome 1 quite a bit. But this Inspiring Virtue has the same problem that Unscathed Contender has. It only augments your power damage, not your Condi damage. So this really isn't doing too much for us. Alright? Instead, we run Glacial Heart. And Glacial Heart essentially is only going to be interacting with your Axe 3, or if you choose to use it, your Tome 1 Skill 3, both of which are forms of CC that you're going to be using in this build. So what Glacial Heart does is it does a very small amount of damage and it provides chill. We don't care about the damage and we don't care about the chill, so why do we run Glacial Heart at all? The reason we run Glacial Heart is because since it's proccing the extra damage here, this is going to take another tick of proccing towards your Permeating Wrath, which is basically your Tome 1 passive is going to tick more often because you're using Glacial Heart. Glacial Heart means whenever you hit a boss or hit something and CC it, use some sort of CC ability, we're going to get into those, but your Axe 3, Tome 1 Skill 3, you're going to proc this and it's going to cause an additional tick of damage, and that additional tick of damage will get you another step closer to activating your passive F1 ability, which is going to be a burn after a couple hits on a boss. Every couple of hits on a boss will cause another stack of burn, which, as Condi Firebrand in the name might suggest, your whole damage scheme is based on doing a lot of burning. So that's why we run Glacial Heart. It's not a huge DPS boost or anything like that. It's just the best out of what's available here. All right. Power of the Virtuous. This is the part where ArenaNet's really trying to move Condi Firebrands away from Zeal and on towards Virtues. Gain condition damage based on your vitality. You gain 13% condition damage based on vitality. Since you start with 1,000, you automatically are getting around like 130-ish condition damage. Just naturally from this. And we're going to talk about how Imbued Haste gives you vitality, which in turn gives you additional condition damage every time you have quickness. So just be aware that these two actually will play off each other, and I'll highlight that more when we come down here. But basically, your vitality, your health pool directly goes into your condition damage for more condition damage. Next, we have Permeating Wrath. Basically, your Guardian passive from your F1 triggers more quickly. It triggers every 3 attacks now. So every 3rd time that you hit something, you will automatically give it a burn stack. And basically, this just does more burning in an AoE now. All right, and that's the whole Virtues skill tree. Next, we have Firebrand. And right here, Archivist of Whispers. This right here is going to be the big change in your Condi Firebrands. For those that are familiar with how Zeal works, you would normally bring Unrelenting Criticism. For longer fights, basically how this is going to work, guys, and I'll get more into this at the end of the video, I promise, but if you are doing fights whose phases last more than like 18-20 seconds, you're going to want to run Archivist of Whispers. If you're doing fights that are phasing shorter than like 17 seconds, you're actually going to want to run Unrelenting Criticism. I'll explain at the end, I promise, but just know that in general, you're running Archivist of Whispers, which gives you 3 additional pages every time you go into Virtues, which means you now, instead of having 5 abilities to use in a Virtue, you have 8 abilities to use in a Virtue. All right, and that's going to change our rotation. So, next we have Swift Scholar, basically gain swiftness whenever you do stuff, or whenever you go into your Virtues, yay. Legendary Lore stays the same, which is going to be, you just gain increased burn duration, which is fantastic. Imbued Haste, I talked about this earlier, but you're basically gaining 250 condition damage, healing power, vitality. We don't care all about the healing power, the condition damage is amazing, and on top of that, the vitality that we gain automatically transfers an additional amount, around 30 extra condition damage to our total condition damage because of Power of the Virtuous. And again, this only procs whenever you have quickness on you. If your heal brand is competent and isn't an idiot, you will always have quickness on you. Last, we have Lore Master, which is staying the same from the old Zeal as well. Basically, tomes get reduced recharge, and you keep the Virtue passives when they're on cooldown. This is huge. That way, when you're outside of your Tome 1 and have already used your Tome 1, you're still doing your Permeating Wrath, even though it's on cooldown. Alright, everybody. That was the specs. Let's go into your armor real fast. So, I currently do not have the proper armor equipped. What you want to be running is you want to run a full Viper set here, and I will link this in the description, don't worry. Full Viper set. You want to run Superior Rune of the Balthazar, so that's going to stay the same from the Zeal build. And then you're also running full Viper on your weapons here. Your Axe is going to have Superior Sigil of Torment, your Torch is going to have Superior Sigil of Bursting, and your Torch is going to be the same Torch offhand, both sets. And then your Scepter is going to have Superior Sigil of Geomancy. Alright? And then for your trinkets, your accessories, you actually want to run 5 Sinister, 1 Viper Ring. Everything Sinister, 1 Viper Ring. It's okay if you don't have the exact formula of this. If you want to take your old Condi Firebrand, Zeal build and armor and stuff and run it, that's currently what I'm wearing right now, where it's the Viper Sinister Grieving 222, all Viper. And then I swapped, because I have some legendaries here, I swapped over to 4 Sinister, 2 Viper. It's a little bit of a DPS loss. It's really not a lot, though. Like, don't stress too hard about, like, the exact proper armor for this. It's a very small difference, so don't worry too much, all right? You can still hit insane numbers without the exact full Viper plus 5 Sinister, 1 Viper. But if you're building it out, try and build it out that way from scratch. All right, we've gone over specs, we've gone over gear. Time to get into your weapons abilities and your utility abilities and your tome abilities, all right? For those that already know what these do and what these are, go ahead and skip to the next part where I go over the rotation. But for those that are newer to Firebrand, newer to Guardian, I'm going to explain to you what your abilities do before I explain to you the rotation, all right? So, first up, let's talk about your axe. Axe is the weapon that you get from being a Firebrand, and obviously we have to use it. So, your axe has a 3 auto attack rotation with your 3rd auto attack doing burning. That's huge. Your damage is burning, okay? So, whenever you do an auto attack chain on axe, always finish your 3rd auto attack. It'll look different. It'll have a blue like little thing. Just always finish the 3rd auto attack, okay? Next, we have Axe 2, Symbol of Vengeance. Cast a symbol on the ground after a bit of a wind-up. So, with Axe 2, you're going to be providing some bleed ticks, and that's huge. You're alright, it's going to do a decent amount of damage for you. And it's just an overall solid ability. Every time you're on Axe, you're going to wind up using Axe 2 whenever you get the chance. Axe 3, Blazing Edge, is a pull. This is a form of CC. This is one of your only forms of CC. So use this whenever you see a break bar. On top of that, we're also going to be using this on cooldown because, remember, we're running Glacial Heart here, which means every time that we CC something, we do an additional proc of damage, which is just one step closer to permeating Wrath ticking again and again and again. All right. So this is a form of CC. It also does burning on its own. Yay for that. Before we go into the torch abilities, because the torch abilities are going to be the exact same on both weapon sets here, I'm going to talk about your Scepter. So, your Scepter auto attacks are just fast little auto attacks that go, go, go. There's nothing special about them, and they don't do condis. So really, we don't want to use Scepter auto attacks. I mean, just to be blunt, the less Scepter auto attacks you're doing, the better. Next, we have Symbol of Punishment. Create a symbol on the ground that basically just does damage. Don't worry about it too much. Nothing huge or insane going on. You do give yourself a little bit of might, which is very nice. But again, your supports are there for that, so don't worry too much. It's basically just there for the damage. Next, we have Chains of Light. This is also a soft form of CC, so you can use this to slowly tick away on a CC bar if needed. It's not great. You're not always, like, this isn't your go-to, really. Your Axe 3 is your go-to, but just be aware that it's there in case you want it. It is a very long immobilize. It's 6 seconds, and this can be really useful, especially if you think about Samurog. If you're putting the ads underneath Samurog and you want to immobilize Rigum, whenever he's underneath Samurog, this is a great ability to use there. Alright, and next, let's talk about our Torch abilities. So our Torch is the same on both our weapon sets, which means the cooldowns will carry over and will be the exact same. Just to show you, if I'm on Axe right here and I activate this, and then I activate this, and then I weapon swap, I still have the cooldowns, alright? So just be aware, it's the exact same weapon, so it has the exact same cooldowns, okay? Let's talk about Torch 5 first, then we're going to go into Torch 4, because Torch 4 is the most complicated and kind of can be confusing, especially for newer players. And Torch 4, for those that haven't seen my Zeal Condi Firebrand video, Torch 4 is going to be the difference between a good Condi Firebrand and a great Condi Firebrand. And we'll go into those differences in those rotations. But just know, Cleansing Flame, basically you look really cool and you breathe fire out in front of you. Note that it does burning, but it will only apply the burning at the end of the cast. So make sure you finish Cleansing Flame. Don't accidentally cancel the animation by doing something else, alright? Like that. No burning ticks would be applied there, alright? It actually doesn't do a ton of damage, so in the grand scheme of all your skills and abilities, this is actually your last priority, alright? This is the one that you would press last before you would do all your auto attacks. Like, your Axe auto attacks are almost the same DPS as Cleansing Flame. Cleansing Flame's just a little bit more, alright? So, let's get into the nitty-gritty here, Zealot's Flame, alright? Zealot's Flame has two different things going on here. First, you can press it once, and you will pulse fire around you. Each one of these pulses will apply a burn stack. Now, it has a second ability. So, I can press it once, and it will automatically start pulsing fire. I can press it again and throw a fireball, getting rid of the pulsing, but throwing a fireball, okay? Now, it is always more damage to throw the fireball, alright? When you throw the fireball, you apply way more burn stacks and way more burn ticks. So, with this ability, we always want to throw fireballs. Okay, that seems pretty simple. Why do you say this is a weird ability? Okay, that's simple in and of itself, right? You press it once, you AoE fire. You press it again, you throw a fireball, and you look really cool. Simple, easy, right? But, remember, I talked about Radiant Fire. Radiant Fire interacts with Torch 4, okay? Basically, what Radiant Fire does, here we go. What Radiant Fire does is every time that you critically hit, which you will critically hit very often, every time you critically hit, you will gain a fireball, and it will activate Radiant Fire without you pressing Radiant Fire, which means you gain an additional ability to throw a fireball that is irrespective of whether or not you activate the ability on your own. Now, there's two ways that this can play out, and let me go ahead and just show you on the Golem real fast. So the first way this can play out is, let's say I come up to my kitty golem here, and I attack the golem, and then press Zealot's Flame before I critically hit. Okay, so I'm going to press Zealot's Flame before I critically hit here. Alright? Boom, and now I have 2 charges of fireballs here. Alright? So, I pressed it first, and then I had 2 fireballs. Alright? The second way that this can interact with the ability is without me pressing Zealot's Flame whatsoever, I will gain the ability to throw a fireball, and it will have no correlation with the cooldown of Torch 4. Alright? So what I mean by that is I'm not going to press Zealot's Flame. I'm literally just going to stand here and auto attack, and I have a fireball right now. If I throw the fireball, I still have the cooldown of Zealot's Flame, and I could do it again if I wanted to and throw another fireball. Alright? So, what's happening? What's happening is I'm critically hitting, it's activating Radiant Fire from this spec, and Radiant Fire gives me a free fireball and a free proc of Zealot's Flame. It's on a 10-second cooldown, okay? Which is essentially around the same time that Zealot's Flame would come back off of cooldown, especially when you take into consideration Alacrity, which reduces your cooldowns. So, just be aware that you will randomly start proccing your Torch 4 without pressing it, okay? And that's normal. What you're doing is you're critically hitting, all right? Don't freak out. Don't go all crazy. What's happening to my Torch 4? Oh my gosh, my Torch 4 ability just changed to a fireball and I didn't press it. That's because your specs are proccing, all right? And it's a good thing, all right? Because it gives you more fireballs to throw, which equals more damage. Just don't freak out about it, all right? I'm going to get more into Torch 4 when we talk about the rotations, because basically what I'm going to explain to you guys is there's an easy way to go about playing Condi Firebrand, not worrying about the Torch 4 stuff, and then there's the more advanced way, which is very much worrying about it and trying to get every single fireball in that you possibly can, and min-maxing your fireball damage. But again, don't worry about that right now. We're just talking about your skills and abilities and what they do. So, next, we have your heal ability, Mantra of Solace. This is an easy, simple ability. It's just a mantra. Press it. You can do whatever you want, and you can activate it at the same time, and it doesn't cancel any other animations. This gives a team-wide AoE little burst in front of you, Aegis for 2 seconds, which means basically if there's a big attack coming in an encounter and your teammates are, next to you, essentially, or in front of you, you press it, and you just gave 5 people an Aegis to block an attack, and it's on a very low cooldown. This comes back all the time, and it's got 3 charges, so use it whenever you want to feel like not caring about mechanics, which is basically all the times in Fractals. Next, we have Signet of Wrath. So Signet of Wrath is something that we're never going to press. We're just here for the passive, passively gaining 180 condition damage. Literally, that's all it is. You gain more condition damage. Don't ever really press it. All right, next, we have Purging Flames. So this right here is the ability that has replaced Sword of Justice for you old Zeal users. Okay, Purging Flames is a consecration. We activate it over here, and it will put a ring of fire on the ground that permeates a burn. All right. If I was to put this ability on top of course that doesn't work. If I was to use this ability on top of the mini kitty golem here, all right, nope, not gonna happen. So if I put it on top of the mini kitty golem, every single time that it pulses out like that, it applies another burn tick. All right, so it starts at 2, then 3, then 4, then 5, then, oh my gosh, permeating wrath, and then 7, yada, 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 right? All right, bunch of burn ticks over time. So because we are running Master of Consecrations right here, this is also gaining a reduced recharge. Basically what's happening is this is going to last for like, I don't know, 8-ish, 9-ish seconds or so. And then it's going to be on a reduced recharge of about 20 seconds, which means you can have it up very, very, very often. All right, and it does a great amount of damage. Most importantly, it just applies a bunch of burn ticks. At the end of the day, it just applies a bunch of burn ticks. And the cool part about it, I don't know if you guys see this, every single time it pulses, you are also Condi cleansing anyone on your team standing in it. So for example, if you're on top of the boss and you press it, every single pulse right here is Condi cleansing. Every single pulse is Condi cleansing your team, which is just a huge, huge benefit for your teammates. All right, so again, it's also providing a little bit of utility, which is kind of nutty, especially because it pulses like 7 or 8 times. It pulses 8 times here, which means that you basically just Condi cleansed 8 times, which is kind of nuts on top of the fact that you're doing an insane amount of damage. Next, we have Mantra of Flame. This is a very simple ability. Basically, you're just going to be pressing this as much as you can because it holds 3 charges, and every time you press it, you're literally just applying a burn tick. That's all it really is. Every time you press it, you're applying a burn tick. Simple as that. Charges over time. You never want it sitting at 3 charges. If you're sitting at 3 charges, you're wasting DPS. Basically, just constantly weave this in and out, and it's literally just face whatever you want and apply a burn tick. Easy as that. Simple. Nice. All right. Finally, we have your renewed focus. Meditation. Focus. Making yourself invulnerable and reducing your virtues. So what's happening here is you go invulnerable for a bit, all right? You can run around while you're invulnerable, okay? So I can run around, I can jump, I can do whatever. While this is happening, nothing's hurting me. It's very easy, like, get out of jail free card, if you will. Like, I'm just not going to take damage for a bit. Most importantly, and why we care about it the most on Condi Firebrands, it resets your tomes. So let's say, for example, we went into Tome 1, we did some abilities, yay, yippee, all right, cool, all right, maybe we go into Tome 2, maybe we go into Tome 3, oh my gosh, everything's on cooldown, look at that, oh no, what are we going to do? Boom, renewed focus, run around, act like nothing happened, and now everything is back off cooldown. Okay, 1, we use it to be invulnerable so we don't care about mechanics. 2, we use it to reset our Tome 1 because our Tome 1 is the most amount of damage that we're going to output. All right? So, that is an incredibly strong ability. It has a very long cooldown, and it's very nice because it resets our Tome 1. Be very careful and just be mindful about your fight encounters, because remember that because we are running Renewed Justice here, our Tome 1 will automatically reset once we're out of Tome 1 and something that we tagged has died. So try your best to not blow Renewed Focus whenever you know that there's an ad that's about to die, because you're about to get a Tome 1 reset anyways, so who cares, right? All right, so we've gone over our weapon abilities, gone over our utility abilities. Let's go ahead and go over our Tome 1 abilities here. We're just going to go in order. So, Tome 1, Skill 1, Searing Spell. This is essentially the same thing as your mantra. There's almost no difference, all right? All you do is you aim it at whatever you want, you press it, it throws it out literally like a mantra, and it applies burn ticks. It's literally just another mantra of flame, okay? There's nothing special about it, nothing crazy about it, okay. Next, we have Igniting Burst. We come up, we do it, it's got a little cool animation where it pulses out like that, and it applies a burn tick over time, all right? It applies a really long burn tick over time, all right? So if we were to press it again, boom, another burn tick over time. Easy, simple. So, this Chapter 2 Igniting Burst is actually a really long duration of burning, which is a lot of damage over time for us. Our Tome 1 Skill 2 is essentially our strongest DPSing aspect of going into Tome 1, right behind, I shouldn't say the strongest, it's right behind Ashes of Just. We're going to get into Ashes of Just, don't worry about it, alright? We're going to go in order, though. Just know that Tome 1, Chapter 2, good damage. Good damage, we like it, alright? Chapter 3, Heated Rebuke. This is a form of CC. It pulls in right there, alright? So every time you press it, it's going to pull in, and remember, because we're running Glacial Heart, it's going to proc Glacial Heart, which means it's also going to give another tick of damage towards your Permeating Wrath. We will not be using Tome 1, Chapter 3 in our rotation, but just know that we can throw it in there for an extra form of CC if we need it during a boss encounter, if we're in our Tome 1. For example, if we're fighting Mama in CM98, and Mama has a CC bar up, and we're in the middle of a Tome 1 rotation, maybe we throw in, a chapter 3 here. Maybe we throw in a Tome 1 Chapter 3 for a little extra CC to break that bar a little faster. All right, next we have Chapter 4, Scorched Aftermath. Basically, you're just going to create a fire field that does burning. All right, boom, you put it here. Every single time it pulses, you're doing more burn ticks over time, and eventually it just kind of stacks up. It's very similar to Purging Flames. It's just got a bigger area, and it creates a fire field. That's not too important. You're not going to worry about that too much here. Just know that it creates a ring, and it basically just does a bunch of burning in the ring. It also applies some bleed ticks as well, which again is nice DPS for us. And yeah. So, let's talk about Tome 1, Skill 5, Ashes of Just. This ability right here is going to be the reason that you do stupid high damage. And this Virtues Condi Firebrand build with the 8-tome rotation is actually going to wind up cycling Ashes twice because it's such a powerful ability. What Ashes of Just does is once activated, it gives you and any party members like in your vicinity, up to 5 different total people, Ashes of Just. Ashes of Just simply means that on your next 3 attacks, you will cause burning. But the burning will be attributed to the person that gave Ashes. So what do I mean by that? Let's say you're in a fractal group, you have your Lacren, you have a Healbrand, you have a Condi Firebrand, and you have 2 Scourges, let's say, alright? I press Ashes of Just right here, and I have now given myself and my other 4 party members Ashes of Just here, which stays on you for 10 seconds. The next 3 times that all of us hit whatever we're going after here, each time it will apply a burn tick onto the boss, and every single one of those burn ticks will be attributable to me and will be my damage, which means I am getting 15 different types of burn ticks off just through doing Ashes of Just, which is insanely strong from each person, from every single person, all right? Now, it used to be, but they just patched it, that you could stack Ashes and that it would go to whoever first pressed Ashes of Just. I just want to make you guys aware right now, they've just patched that. So let's say, for example, there's 2 Condi Firebrands, Condi Firebrand 1, Condi Firebrand 2. Condi Firebrand 1 presses Ashes of Just first. Condi Firebrand 2 presses Ashes of Just a second time here, or presses Ashes of Just immediately after. Everyone has 6 stacks of Ashes of Just. All 6 stacks used to be attributable to just Condi Firebrand 1. They've just patched it so that the first 3 will go to 1, the next 3 will go to 2. Alright, just be aware of that. I just wanted to throw that in there right now. Basically, Ashes of Just is a super strong ability for you and is what makes you do a lot of damage. It is a huge increase when you take into the consideration that you're giving it to 4 other people and yourself. Alright, so that is going to be your Tome 1 abilities right there. I'm going to briefly talk about Tome 2 and Tome 3 just because they're part of your utility abilities and they're what make Condi Firebrand such a safe option. I'm not going to go over all the abilities and skills. I just want to highlight the important stuff here. So, when you activate Tome 2, you're going to gain Regen, Resolution, and Quickness. what you're going to want to do is press Epilogue Eternal Oasis, which is going to Condi flip you. All your conditions turn into boons. 5 conditions turn into boons. If you want, you can press 311 for a bunch of healing. If you need another Condi cleanse, you can press Chapter 2 right here. So basically go into Tome 2 to Condi cleanse, and if you want to burst heal, you go 5, 3, and then just spam 1, essentially. Alright, and that's going to be how you heal yourself. Next, we have Tome of Courage. As soon as you press it, you're gaining protection, resolution, and quickness. So when you go in here, you're going to go into your Tome 3 for basically 3 different things that you can do. First, you can give yourself stability. Stability through pressing 5, or stability through spamming 1. Whatever you want to do, 5 lasts longer. Okay? Next, we have resistance. If you want to give yourself resistance and protection, you can press Chapter 4. Basically, this just pulses out in front of you and creates this little this little circle. As long as you stand in it, you have resistance. Last, you can go into Tome 3 and press Skill 3, Valiant Bulwark, to create a bubble. This is a reflect projectile bubble. So as long as the bubble persists, any projectile that would hit you in here instead gets reflected back at the source. Again, huge form of utility. Neither of these are going to be part of our rotation. I just wanted to show you guys so that you know what you can be using and it's in your kit. Alright, everybody, that's enough of me blabbering on about the skills and abilities. Let's get right into your rotations, alright? First, we're going to start with the training wheels on. Then I will explain to you how to do it with the training wheels off. Just be aware we're going to take this into segments. First, we're going to start with your opener. Then we're going to start with your Tome 1 rotation. Then we're going to do what the heck do we do after a Tome 1 rotation. And then we're going to get into essentially what the groove and how to find a nice groove into everything here. So, first off, your opener. Your opener is going to be Axe 2 into Purging Flames with your Mantra of Flame thrown in there. Alright? 3 abilities. Axe 2, Purging Flames, Mantra of Flame. Alright, so it's going to look a little something like this. Boom, Axe 2, easy. Alright, 3 abilities. That's all. Right there. Simple as that. Okay? Let's go ahead and reset. Axe 2, Purging Flame, and Mantra. Easy. Done. Yada yada. Okay. As soon as you have done Axe 2, Purging Flame, Mantra, make sure your Purging Flame hits the ground, alright? Don't cancel the animation. You will probably see me cancel the animation, but I'm just warning you, try your best not to, alright? As soon as you've done Axe 2, Purging Flame, Mantra, Weapon Swap, Scepter 2. Weapon Swap, Scepter 2. So, Axe 2, boom, 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 Weapon Swap, Scepter 2. Alright? That's simple. That is a 4-button opener. You can nail it. I'm so proud of you all. Okay. Let's talk about coming out of your opener into your Tome 1 rotation, alright? And let me be very clear about this, guys. The difference between training wheels off and training wheels on is going to be using fireballs, alright? With the training wheels on, don't worry about Torch 4. Literally, don't press it. Doesn't matter. Who cares? Just don't even focus on it or care what's going on with your Torch 4. Alright? You're still going to do stupid high damage, not throwing fireballs. I promise. So, as soon as we're done, Axe 2, Purging Flames, Mantra, Weapon Swap, Scepter 2, we're going to go straight into our Tome 1 rotation. Now, for all of you that are aware of how Zeal Firebrand works, this right here is going to be where we deviate from a Zeal Firebrand rotation. Alright? So, once we go into Tome 1, our rotation is going to be 5, 2, 4, 1, 2, and then we're going to do 2 again, 5, 4. So, in total, 5, 2, 4, 1, 2, 2, 5, 4. Alright? I know it's weird. And I promise you it's going to feel weird. Because you're just sitting there in your Tome 1. I hear you. I understand. It does a lot of damage. Like, at the end of the day, it just does a lot of damage. Alright? So, just to give you guys an idea, The reason that we are using 2 so much is it comes off of cooldown way faster, does a lot of damage, and we're basically cycling waiting to be able to use our Ashes and our skill 4 again. We want to proc both of those abilities twice. And we're essentially using everything else as a filler. What you're going to notice a lot of times is you're going to go into your Tome 1 rotation, and while in your Tome 1 rotation, you also want to be using your Mantra of Flame. Basically keep using it until you don't have any charges left, and just sprinkle it into whenever you can fill it in, whatever's comfortable for you. So just to give you guys an idea here, you go in, you go 5, 2, 4, 1, throw in a Mantra, 2, and we're spamming 2 right here. 2 again, 5, 4. Boom. Alright? And hopefully you guys saw there, when you do the animations quickly and you hit the buttons at the correct time, essentially, you're going to be getting your 2 off of cooldown, like, way faster than you're getting all your other stuff off cooldown, which is why we're spamming 2 that entire time, right? Like, we were able to hit 2 a third time before we were able to hit 5 or 4 an additional second time. It's just the way the cooldowns work, all right? So, last time, Tome 1, 5, 2, 4, 1, 2, 2, 5, 4. All right? Get that in your head. Practice it. If you're doing it right, your 2 is coming off of cooldown before your 5 and 4 are coming off of cooldown. All right? So, we've gone over the opener. We've gone over the Tome 1 rotation. So, what the heck do you do when you're done with a Tome 1 rotation? So, I just have finished doing the last 5 and the 4. I come out of my Tome 1 rotation. I am immediately pressing Scepter 2 again. Alright? The second you come out of Tome 1, you're spamming that 2 ability. Alright? Get the Scepter 2 on the ground. And then what you're going to do is immediately go into your ulti. Alright? So, it's going to be Scepter 2 immediately into ulti. Alright? You can press your mantras, by the way, while you're in your ultis. So, Scepter 2 immediately into ulti. At some point during your ulti, your Purging Flames will probably have come back up off of cooldown. So, what's going to happen is the moment you come out of Tome 1, Scepter 2, ulti. Throw a mantra or 2 if you have any more mantra charges. As soon as you come out of Renewed Focus, it's Purging Flames straight into Tome 1. Purging Flames straight into Tome 1, and we're literally resetting the Tome 1 chain now, alright? It's the exact, every time you go into Tome 1, it's the exact same. There's no difference, alright? 5, 2, 4, 1, 2, 2, 5, 4. Alright? Alright. What do you do when you're done with your Tome 1 rotation and then you're done with your ulti? Alright? No more Tome 1, no more ulti. As soon as that happens, get out of Scepter. So, what's going to happen is you're going to come out from your second Tome 1, you're going to press Scepter 2, immediately weapon swap into Axe. Basically how this works, if you're using Tome 1, get on Scepter. If you're using not Tome 1, get on Axe. Alright? Your Axe abilities do more burning and more damage. Okay? So we want Axe. So, once you're on Axe, there's almost no rotation except for the part where there's sort of a rhythm to it. Once you get used to it, you're using all your abilities off of cooldown. Alright? So you're using Axe 2, you're using Axe 3, you're throwing fireballs as much as humanly possible. As soon as you get back onto your Axe, that's when you're allowed to start caring about your fireballs. Basically, activate the ability and throw a fireball literally every chance that you get. As soon as you're on Axe, throw as many fireballs as you can, alright? And then you're also going to be using your Torch 5 whenever these 3 abilities are all on cooldown. Additionally, while you're on Axe, you're also going to use Purging Flames and Mantra of Flame every time that they're up. At the end of the day, it's, are you doing a Tome 1 rotation? If so, follow the rotation in Tome 1. If not, get on Axe and literally mash your face in the keyboard until all your buttons have been pressed. And then once all your buttons are pressed, do Axe auto attack chains, making sure you always finish the 3rd auto attack. Now, when you are doing the training version of this, when you're doing it with the training wheels on, again, just completely ignore your Torch 4 until after you're done with your F1 rotations. Once you're done with your F1 rotations, then you can get right into all your, button mashing on axe rotations, all right? So the difference between training wheels on, training wheels off, if you want to do training wheels off, now we start to actually care about how quickly and efficiently you're going through your rotations. So what's going to happen is training wheels off, we want to throw as many fireballs as humanly possible. And if we're going to throw as many fireballs as humanly possible, that means that when we are proccing Radiant Fire, you have to be in a place where you're throwing fireballs. All right, that means you cannot be stuck in a Tome 1 rotation. So what's going to happen is on your opener, you're going to go Axe 2, you're going to go Purging Flames, you're going to throw out your mantra, you're going to weapon swap, and then you're immediately going to drop Scepter 2, Fireball, Fireball. All right? Before going into your Tome 1 rotation, throw 2 fireballs. You're going to do your Tome 1 rotation. Immediately coming out of Tome 1, spam 4 and throw 2 more fireballs. All right? Now, here's where I want to talk about, because you actually have options. There is not a huge DPS gain whenever you go immediately into ulti coming out of your first F1 rotation. It's like a very small amount of DPS boost over time. But if you wanted to hit a bigger burst opener, then you're going to want to not go into ulti, and after the first F1 rotation, immediately go in and you're going to throw double fireballs, Scepter 2, Torch 5, weapon swap, do your axe rotations. All right? And it's literally just spamming fireballs. You spam fireballs right after your opener before into Tome 1. You spam fireballs right after Tome 1. And you spam fireballs literally every opportunity that you get the chance. All right? And you need to be crisp on your F1 timings. As in, you need to efficiently go through the 8 F1 abilities. Otherwise, you will get caught in your F1 and not be able to throw the fireball coming off of Radiant Fire. But if you can master that, if you can master throwing fireballs into the rotation, you're set. I mean, you're going to do really strong, really good damage. If you're able to get a solid opener, good F1 rotation, double fireball, straight into your axe stuff, don't cancel a ton of animations, throw as many fireballs as possible, get all your axe abilities off, you can easily burst over 50k. You can absolutely burst over 50k with allies. Let me preface that, with allies, all right? And that brings me to a point that I want to discuss with you guys. There is a huge difference in benchmarks between doing this solo on a golem and doing this with allies in a golem. All right, if you're doing this solo, the benchmark is around 33, 34k. All right, it's a little, I think it's a little above 34k. The benchmark with allies, and by with allies, you can do this with one friend who plays a Mesmer with 3 clones. All right, the clones will receive Ashes of Just, which means your friend, the 3 clones, you. All 5 stacks are being utilized, all right? If you do it with a friend, the benchmark, if you were perfect, is over 40,000, all right? It's over 40k, which is basically a 6.5-ish thousand difference between doing it with friends and doing it not with friends, all right? So just be aware and be mindful that if you're practicing this, in practicing the rotation yourself, you're not realizing the full DPS potential of the kit because you don't have your allies proccing Ashes of Just for you. So just keep that in the back of your mind, all right? Practice not with fireballs, then practice with fireballs. It's okay to not throw fireballs. You're still going to do great damage. Don't worry about it. That's just if you're trying to min-max, get a couple extra thousand DPS into your rotation. That's where a couple thousand is going to come from, all right? All right, guys, first up is me doing the rotation solo, and that's followed by a side-by-side of me with a Mesmer, but in one video, I go straight into ulti after Tome 1, and in the other video, I forego ulti and head straight to Axe.
Yeah. I don't believe in destiny, I just do what's best for me. Don't listen to my enemies, they're just full of jealousy. Yeah, this legacy, you gon' see what's left of me. You gon' see success in me, you ain't seen the rest of me. I just wanna be the best at what I know, better than the rest, just watch me grow. Put me to the test and watch me go. This is my quest, I'ma make it known. They call me obsessive, oh I know. Call me selective with my notes, call me aggressive with my flow, call me offensive even though yo, I ain't gonna lie, life's tough. Try to get by, life's rough. Try to do it right, it's not enough. Even though you try, you still mess up. But I'm still gonna fight for what I love, still gonna die for what I love, still gonna try, I won't give up, still gonna fight until I've won. They say I'm way too obsessed and I've got nothing left, and I'm not quite there yet, but those words they'll regret, cause I've got something left and I'm not giving in. I will not let them win, I won't stop till the end, no. Some injuries, mentally and physically. Studied them religiously so I don't repeat history. And people won't admit to me they don't want a victory bad enough to get a C. They'd rather just go leave it be. And oh, this journey I've been on since 13, working hard and learning, never stopping searching. Yeah, it's burning, all this passion hurts me. I took action working, writing down these words. No, I'm not okay, I just wanna be something. I don't wanna be nothing, living all alone. No, I'm not alright, I'm just barely getting by.
Alright guys, now obviously I'm not the best of the best of the best or anything like that, right? The point of the video was not to show you a perfect gameplay or anything like that. It was just to showcase to you the class and how the rotations work, what your skills and abilities do, all that kind of fun stuff. If you are looking for somebody that hits a really good rotation, I'm going to put a link in the description below for Support Hero, who did a fantastic job with it, getting around 40k, I believe. And he kills the golem in about a minute and 40 seconds. So that would be a great rotation for you to watch and try and emulate if you were trying to do that. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys were able to learn from just watching me kind of play through it a bit for you. Alright, so next I want to talk about how this actually plays out in real fights, right? If you'll notice, it's a little bit awkward staying in Tome 1 and just kind of like slowly waiting on all your cooldowns to come back up. It also can be pretty awkward using your ultimate and sitting still and not doing any damage for 3 seconds. So when does this build kind of shine, and when do you want to augment it? So this build really shines when there's no phases, all right? If you're thinking, you know, dark phase of CM 100, right? But when there are phased fights and bosses go invulnerable, you want to switch this build up actually when the phases are around 17, 18 seconds or less timing. When it's around 17, 18 seconds or less, it's actually more beneficial for you in using more of a burst to use Unrelenting Criticism, and don't use your 5 pages. For those that have seen my Condi Firebrand video for Zeal, this is the exact same rotation as Zeal. It's literally the exact same, except you're now using Purging Flames instead of Sword of Justice. That's it, all right? For those that are newer, when you do this 5 here, when you're doing fights whose phases are lasting less than, 17 or so seconds, all right, you're going to want to go into Tome 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 2, all right? And this is obviously going to be very dependent on, how good is your team, how good's the other DPS, what fight are you doing, this is dependent on a lot of things. Just play test, see what you like the best. You're still going to keep the exact same of everything else. Nothing else changes. The only thing is you bring Unrelenting Criticism. Instead of 8 pages, you have 5 pages, and your Axe 2 will now do some CC break bar damage, which is also nice if you need to break bars faster. So just keep that in the back of your mind. All right. Alright, so Zeal Firebrand versus Virtues Firebrand. Which one's better? Which one should you use when? Is Zeal dead? Is Virtues the new king? So basically the TLDR is Virtues is better than Zeal. That being said, Virtues is not something that you can stack with itself. And what I mean by that is in Fractals a lot of times there used to be 3 Condi Firebrands, 1 Alakren, 1 Healbrand. That used to be like the most standard comp in CM Fractals, alright? You cannot run 3 Virtues Condi Firebrands as your 3 DPS in Fractals, okay? Virtues Condi Firebrands give no stacks of vulnerability to the boss. The only thing that you're doing to give vulnerability stacks is Scepter 3, and you're literally never using Scepter 3, okay? Now, Zeal Condi Firebrands, in comparison, do a lot of vulnerability stacks, okay? So, it's mandatory for overall team DPS, if you guys want to run 3 Condi Firebrands in your group, one of those 3 needs to be playing Zeal, okay? Zeal still brings a lot of good damage, alright? But on top of that, it brings vulnerability stacks. Vulnerability stacks are huge for total team damage, okay? Now, if there's other classes that are providing vulnerability, especially if you think about raids or things like that, Virtues is fantastic, okay? Because you don't need the vulnerability because other classes are going to provide it for you. So don't worry about it too much in strikes or raids. It's more prevalent in Fractals and 5-man content if you want to stack a bunch of Condi Firebrands because obviously it's the best class, duh. Just make sure one of them is playing Zeal, okay? And if you don't know what the Zeal Firebrand is or anything like that, I have a video on my YouTube page. Check it out. I'll put the link in the description for that. Alright guys, so I got a little secret for you that wound up staying to the end of the video. I appreciate that. So, there is a little small trick you can do to eke out a couple extra 100 DPS, and it's a little minute thing that not many people are very aware of, and I just want to showcase it for you right here. So, what you're going to do is start out with your normal rotation, right? Alright, boom, so we're doing our opener, we weapon swap, we throw a bunch of fireballs, we go into our Tome 1 rotation, we're mashing our abilities, oh my gosh, we're nuts. Look at all the burn ticks, oh my gosh. 2 again, 5, 4, and we're spamming fireballs, and we come out, boom, and then Scepter, and then boom, and then as soon as we're done with Torch, we're going to spam that, and we swap over, we do our axe rotation, we boom, and then we swap over to the YouTube page, and we're going to hit the subscribe buttons and the like buttons on all of Pritch's content, and that's going to eke out a couple extra thousand, alright guys? Don't underestimate that, alright? Alright, so, to end the video, guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Thanks so much. If you guys got any questions for me, if there's something you wish I would have explained more, please let me know. And I'm happy to explain in the comments. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.